Hello folks, hope you do welcome back to One Piece Review. This time we covered manga chapter 1191. So the jury's still out of whether or not Ibu is going to be brought down a peg. I highly doubt it after this chapter, but we did get some interesting progression with the inclusion of Loki and Hardy in the team up with Luffy now. Going to be neat to see how much Luffy could contribute considering his state. Also, shout out to Scarpa for putting in the work and doing a lot more damage than I thought he would. But I'll get to that shortly. But we do got some news when it comes to the One Piece remake scheduled for 2027 on Netflix. And we got a release date in February. This is confirmed by Netflix themselves as far as like this drop in February 2027. So we don't have long to wait. I'm curious to see when the One Piece live action season 3 takes place. We know where that features, we know what that focuses on, but it's going to be interesting to see what the release date for that is. Now, there was some more details when it comes to the One Piece remake, but I'm taking this with a huge grain of salt, especially after what we got with the news that One Piece season 2, which was going to be focusing on the beginning of Elbaph, and we were supposed to get 2 separate cores. Obviously, we're still ongoing with all 26 episodes scheduled in one sitting instead of 2 individual cores. Apparently, we're going to get seven episodes to represent season 1, and that's going to adapt 50 chapters, which will adapt all of the East Blue saga, if I'm not mistaken, which would be the same direction that they took from the live action season 1. So I did say in the early stages when we first got the news, when it comes to like the One Piece remake, they could take a page out of the live action playbook. In what capacity I didn't know, but so it's going to be interesting to see how long the episodes actually are. This may explain a few things, however, take this with a grain of salt. Speaking of which though, and speaking of excitement, let's get into this chapter. So we've got Luffy on the cover of the weekly Shonen Jump. We also got the Straw Hats with a colour spread, an awesome colour spread, mind you. And obviously it's a music themed colour spread with Brook, Usopp, Luffy at the front and centre on the microphone singing it out. Either the band's called Soul Searching Ages or that's the name of the song. You got Nami rocking the DJ headset, so that's pretty cool. Like she's ready to get down on the disco. You got Robin looking awesome, just chilling out in the center, which is ironic because outside of Luffy, Robin and Chopper are the only Straw Hats we get to see in this chapter. So there's a reason we got a cat and we got a fox on the microphone as well. I can't help but wonder if that cat's a reference to Nekamamushi. The only thing missing, if that is a bowl of lasagna. Let's get into this chapter. Like I said, I've got to give props to Scarpa because he really put in the work and did a lot more damage to Emu and caused a lot more of a difference in Emu than I thought he was going to with that last attack. Like I said in the previous review, there was a cut and all of a sudden you get to see Scarpa with his right arm cut off. So that's where we start with this chapter. So Luffy's trying to get back up, and I think it's important to note what he's saying as he's getting back up. He's like, how am I still alive right now? If I change back to normal, it'll be bad. So to me, obviously because of his zone form in Gear 5th, so he's able to withstand a lot more damage from Emu than he'd be in his normal form. So he'd probably would be dead if it wasn't for Gear 5th. But at the same time, he's able to do less in Gear 5th than he was in his base form, at least right now. So Luffy is like trying to like talk to Scarpa like, hey, you alright, Gramps? Sorry, you took that attack for me. And then Scarpa's like, no, I didn't do it for you. I did it to protect Elbaph. I'm fighting for Elbaph. But then Luffy goes on and asks, what is he? Well, just like straight up, what is he? And Scarpa's like, well, it seems to be a big secret, but if I had to put it in a word, he seems to be God. But the fact that Oda's given us tidbits of information and not a flashback is kind of telling that Ibu's not, no matter how much Oda wants to tease it, is not being brought down in Elbaph. So we go to the realm of the dead and we see like the animals there, that 1 minute they're furious, the next minute they're gone. They're knocked out because Ibu's undergoing a change, and you see the Conqueror's Haki emitting everywhere because Ibu's like taking it seriously now if he wasn't already. Oh, that was formed from Seeable. Those used from the God Valley. I should have taken them out along with the Rock's Pirates. Yes, you should have, but you didn't. But then this is where Emu undergoes a transformation. Speaking of his own forms, is that his own form? Because it kind of looks like it. Especially with the silhouette. So You see his hand grow, it goes into turn silhouette, and then all you see is like Emu's face. One, he's got, looks like he's got two sets of horns. He's got the small horns that he had previously on his forehead, and it's been replaced by the Elbaph-like horns. Kind of reminds me of Kaido a little bit as well. But he's also got the same eyes, and he's also rocking the goatee, which I thought was pretty cool. And automatically, you know, people are going to compare this to Mihawk because that's what they've been doing ever since Emu was introduced. I'm not going to go that far because we still don't know if or who he's connected to. If there is another character in the One Piece verse Emu's related to, we don't know. And the more that Oda kind of like teases this and gives us nothing, the less likely it is that Emu's going to be brought down on the Elbaph. But as this change is going on, speaking of answers, we go to the library and Chopper runs into Sol as well, and he realizes the books are alright. And again, Oda's elaborating on the books, nothing else. So Oda's doing that deliberately, but it's like Robin's like, yeah, it's all thanks to Blue Blue. But Sol says, Chopper, I want you to try to talk to him. He says it looks like he wants to try and tell us something, but he's always been a silent type. So this is where Chopper comes in to try and translate. And as Blue Blue is saying something, obviously Chopper notices something, but it cuts away again. So the more that Oda does this, the more likely it is that that's going to be safe for the end, in my opinion. Because you would be teasing that now, only to come back to it later on, because the action's still taking place. And Oda's been focused on nothing but this Emu versus Luffy. You want to call it a 1v1. Now it's turned into a melee with Team Elbaph versus Emu. Speaking of Emu, we see his full body in this form. It looks beastly in more ways than one. He's rocking the wings now. It kind of reminds me of King a little bit. So I wonder if that's a connection. He's also rocking the same sword, the Toshiro Honeybombie. But this is where Scopper's like, Luffy, you just get out of here. It's like, take your crew and get out of here. And Luffy says, I'm not doing that. Eba's coming in with the Honeybombie attack. So he's coming in to strike Scopper. Out of nowhere, in comes Hardin. He punches Emu and is able to force Emu away. So props to Hardin for that. Also, did Emu not suspect this attack coming? What's going on with his observation hockey? I can say the same thing about Luffy, to be honest with you, but in the midst of being attacked, you notice that Emu charging up another Omen attack, ready to strike. Even as Hardin is forcing Emu back, and even though Hardin launched the attack, Scopper's like telling him it's no use because he's immortal. I can't see a way of us winning this. So that's tease number one. The other tease is telling Luffy to run away, which I'll get to in a second, but obviously Luffy's not going to do that, but he's telling Hardin, make sure that Luffy and the others get out of here. But Luffy still insisted he's not going to run away. And Scopper's like, what the hell are you going to do with those wounds? And Luffy's like, I'm going to recover now. It's like, what? So basically he does something to like recover, but we don't get to see really what he does. He's taking a deep breath, but as he's doing this, the Omen attack that Emu previously charged up is launching straight towards the three. Hardin sees this and actually shields Scopper and Luffy, and it hits him in the back, so that's props to Hardin for taking the hit, literally, and tanking the hit as well. Especially since Hardin was like in a pretty bad condition to begin with. But again, we don't really get to see what Luffy does in this situation. It's like, one second he's trying to take a deep breath, the other he's like noticing the bombs coming their way. I was telling Hardin, live to fight another day, but I like Hardin's response. Elbaph's not going to bend the knee. A true warrior is always resolved to die in battle. And then Hardin goes on to say, it's okay if I die. Loki is here. I'm like, oh boy. You see Loki appearing behind Hardin, actually giving Hardin props for the first time in his life. So that was actually a pretty cool, underrated moment. Because we knew this moment was coming. A team up between the brothers. This was all been leading up to. Emu notices this, and immediately, somehow, Luffy's back on his feet. Because he's like, oh, I'm back on my feet as well. And you see Scopper's reaction, like, what the hell? And this was a cool moment. We got Hardin and Loki charging up a 3 generals Kokoku sovereignty, which I find very ironic considering in the last episode that we got Dory and Broggy doing the same thing. Great callback, but we saw them doing the same technique. We also saw Road Good and Goldberg are doing the same thing. So now we've got it with Loki and Haradine, and Luffy comes into the mix to make it a triple combo to force Emu away. You see Emu's reaction, like he's not fazed by this at all. Is this attack going to do anything major to him? Fuck no. And that's how the chapter ends, with the trio launching a Okakuro's Serenity, a great callback to Elbaph and Dory and Bruggy, but in the form of Loki, Luffy, and Haradine, which I did mention could be a possibility. Like we was always going to get a Luffy and Loki team up, but you could also include Haradine in the mix just because narratively speaking it makes sense, because then it's what it's been building up to. But in place of Gunko, you now have Emu. So that's what we got now. Is this going to last? Probably not. Especially with Haradine teasing the fact like, I'm ready to die, but it's okay because Loki's here. We may come back for a full circle and may end up to a team up, the 2-on-1 team up between Loki and Luffy, because I don't see this lasting. Especially with Emu going into his new upgraded form already. So it's like, yeah, okay, I don't see this lasting much longer. And again, props to Scott, because he caused this, because his attack forced Emu to trigger his transformation and get even more serious. Now, I'm curious to see what else he can do in this form, because he tried to attack Scopper, but it was blocked by Haradine. Before he tried to attack again, in comes Loki, and then Luffy all of a sudden gets back on his feet. So, how convenient. I kind of want to know how he did that. Or if it's because he did say he hit a lot, so he's able to... He regained a lot of energy, but it's still not enough. He wasn't able to do anything to Emu beforehand. What's he going to do now? He's definitely not going to do anything by himself. So, and the fact that Oda had Scopper mention, like, just run away, just get out of Elbaph. And obviously that wasn't going to happen, but I feel like Oda teased that for a reason. We'll have to wait and see. Oda decided to also tease a possibility of finally getting the discovery of what Robin and Saul about to find. I figured Oda would already go about that because of what he said at Jump Festa, but it's looking pretty much clear by each chapter that goes on. Oda's had a change of heart. At least that's what it seems like right now. Because what he said at Jump Festa, that would be one thing. Because he said Elbaph coming to a close and coming to a big flashy ending this year. That's what he said at Jump Festa, which would be fine if that actually happens. But he also teased two other things that were supposed to happen this year. One, we were supposed to go to the island that Roger reached, Laughdale. And two, he also said there was the man marked with flames was supposed to make an appearance this year. Well, two of the three haven't happened yet, and we're literally on a break next week, and after we come on break, be in the early stages of September, meaning we only have 4 months left of the year. So it's looking less and less likely, and that would not be a problem, because this has happened before where Oda wanted to do something, but obviously through other circumstances, live action, that didn't happen. So I get it, but maybe don't hype up the fandom by saying lightning fast pacing that we've never seen before, because nothing that we've seen this year, with all due respect, has not been lightning fast pacing. It started off that way, but boy, has that slowed down drastically ever since we got out the Esperia backstory. I don't know, maybe Oda has had a change of heart, and maybe he's figured oh shit, I don't have a lot of content when it comes to the Elbaph arc as a whole, because it's been, for the majority of it, it's been pretty much a backstory. If you take away the backstory, it's now going through I need to drag this out a little bit longer, because considering all the time I've taken to build this up, and the fact that Ori is talking about ending this. Does anyone else get that sense? Because I definitely feel that could be playing a factor here. It doesn't make sense as to why Oda, at the start of the year, you noticed the faster pacing, especially with what we got with Gunko against Luffy and Loki, how that fight was wrapped up very quick. The Holy Knights, they were taken down quick, only to come back even stronger, and for Emu to finally be revealed. I'm curious to see when that change came in for Oda. Did Oda underestimate how long it would actually take to wrap up Elbaph this year? Maybe Oda's maybe I didn't have enough content for Elbaph as a whole. When you compare it to other arcs that have lasted way longer than this, either that or he just completely underestimated how much longer it would take to like wrap up Elbaph, considering all the plot points we had to wrap up, and now introducing new ones, which is why I thought Oda would have already had Robin find the discovery, but Oda's like deciding to hold that off, possibly to the end, which I have no problem with because you save the best for last, in my opinion. The lore of Elbaph and what's the biggest secret yet to be revealed is going to be the major hype left in the finale of Elbaph. We know Luffy's not dying. We know Elbaph isn't being destroyed because we need to find out what the secret is of why Elbaph is attached to the name of D. Why does it have a D in its name? We need to get that revealed, and you're not going to reveal that if Elbaph is destroyed. So that's not happening. Especially with all the children there and the next generation of Elbaph. No. But at the same time, Imu's not dying either, because like I said, unless Oda's like thinking about giving us a third backstory about Saint Nerona Imu, that's not happening. So I guess at this point, place your bets. Do you think, honestly, right now, it's possible that Oda's going to not only wrap up Elbaph, but also fulfill the promise what he said at Jump Festa and we'll actually get to see Laughdale for the first time, as well as actually get to see the Man Marked with Flames that Oda hyped up at Jump Festa. The schedule of the live action season 3 has also played a factor. Don't get it twisted. Like, it's not just the fact that Oda's like may have had a change of heart when it comes to like Elbaph and speed running the ending of Elbaph and instead putting the brakes on real fast. Imu's undergone another transformation. It kind of gets you to wonder what else Oda has in store when it comes to Imu. If Imu's body is crippled with like weakness because it's not 100%, God almighty, who knows how much more broken it's going to be when he's fully restored. What do you guys think down below? Great chapter regardless, and it's cool to see Hardin and Loki finally team up. How long that's going to last, I don't know. It doesn't look good for them, right? Even now, it doesn't look good for them. All I will say, if there's ever a time for Oda to have Loki unlock a hybrid form, now's the time. As well as Luffy get an upgrade with Conqueror's Haki, and the more I think about it now, it's kind of like less and less likely that Sanji's going to get his own chapter to get the spotlight of finally unlocking Conqueror's Haki for the first time. And by the way, if he does, he's also going to have to unlock Advanced Conqueror's Haki to do some damage to killing him. So a lot of Sanji fans may have to like live with the fact that it could be Sora and Sanji's chapter to get upgrades. Just saying. But that's my thoughts. Please tell me your comments below. That's going to do it for you guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, you guys know what to do. Hit that thumbs up. I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys' support when it comes to One Piece. Take these guys. Bye.